Path of Exile 2 is finally out in early access, and let me tell you, after 7 days of unbelievable amount of gameplay that I've played, my character is almost level 70. I'm in maps and we're grinding tier 1 maps. We just started. Let me tell you, this game pulls no punches. The combat is brutal. The mobs rush and smother you at every turn, and the difficulty is dialed up to 20. For me, it's been an absolute blast. I'm loving every second of this challenging, high stakes experience. But let's be honest, while POE 2 is a hardcore ARPG fan's dream, it does come with flaws, and that's why it's in early access, to be honest. The big question on my mind is this: how can Grinding Gear Games keep this game as difficult and rewarding as it is while still appealing to a larger audience? That's the point of this video today and what we're diving into. Let's start with why Path of Exile 2 exists in the first place. Grinding Gear Games didn't make POE 2 just to refresh the graphics or add new mechanics. They built it because Path of Exile 1 had hit its peak. Don't get me wrong, POE 1 is a masterpiece that has dominated the ARPG scene for over a decade, but even its developers admitted that its complexity and steep learning curve made it harder to attract new players. Hell, I avoided Path of Exile 1 for many years exactly for those reasons. Path of Exile 2 is their shot at breaking into the mainstream. It's a fresh start, designed to combine the depth hardcore fans love with accessibility that can bring in a larger audience. But here's the catch: the combat and difficulty in Path of Exile 2 are a lot tougher than what many casual players are used to. How do you make a game this challenging appeal to the masses? Let's dig deeper. One thing's for sure, Path of Exile 2 doesn't hold your hand. The combat is engaging but relentless, and the mobs feel like they're out to get you. If you're not prepared, it's easy to get overwhelmed. And let's talk about bosses. These aren't just damage sponges. They have mechanics that can wipe you out if you're not paying attention. Personally, I think the difficulty is part of what makes POE 2 so fun. The challenge forces you to adapt, learn, and improve, which makes every victory feel earned. But for newer casual players, this could feel more punishing than rewarding. Early access is the perfect time for Grinding Gear Games to gather feedback and strike the right balance between difficulty and accessibility. Appealing to a larger audience while maintaining difficulty is no small task. ARPG players often fall into two camps: those who love hardcore mechanics and thrive on difficulty, and those who want a more approachable experience. Let's take Diablo 4 for example. It aimed for mainstream appeal, but ended up feeling shallow for many players. On the other hand, Path of Exile 2 runs the risk of being too challenging for newcomers while still needing to satisfy its veteran community. GGG needs to find that sweet spot where the game is approachable without sacrificing its identity. That could mean adding customizable difficulty options, improving tutorials, or finding ways to better communicate combat mechanics to new players. At the same time, they need to ensure that hardcore players don't feel the game is watered down. Now, here's where early access shines. GGG has a golden opportunity to fine-tune Path of Exile 2 based on the feedback. It's clear they're listening, whether it's balancing enemy difficulty, tweaking progression, or improving quality of life features. This phase is all about iterating and refining the experience. We've already seen several patch notes addressing some of these topics. The loot has been improved. They fixed the dodge roll when getting swarmed by enemies. There have been improvements, so it's clear Grinding Gear Games is listening. And let's be real, the hype around Path of Exile 2's early access has been insane. The excitement alone shows that players are ready for a new standard in ARPGs. If Grinding Gear Games can take the feedback seriously, aggressively while staying true to their vision, POE 2 could become the definitive ARPG for years to come. Now, like I said, Path of Exile 2's early access has only been out for a week, just about, and there has been an outcry of emotions from the player base, which I think correlates with the so-called hardcore players and the so-called casual players. Now, I don't have the answer. I don't know what the answer is. All I can tell you is, as someone who's played almost every ARPG, grinding gear games has a monumental task ahead of itself, because I'm seeing it in my live streams every evening of both sides of the camp coming into chat and telling me one way or the other. And it, again, correlates what I believe is with a casual player or a hardcore player. There are people in my community that love this game, love the difficulty, and there are players that are in my community that tell me this game is just too difficult, it's not as accessible, it doesn't feel fun, and they're not playing it anymore. And therein lies the crux of the issue, because whether we like it or not, whether Grinding Gear Games likes it or not, if one of their goals was to get Path of Exile 2 to reach a wider audience, well, that wider audience has varied degrees of players in it. Those who have a little bit of time and are looking just to blast and have fun, and those that want a serious layered game that takes an enormous amount of challenge and perseverance to overcome. These are the mountains that they must climb. How do you make a game that appeals to both? Is it even possible? I don't have the answer, but it's making me think. I have the time. I'm a content creator. I live stream, so I play the game a lot. I can invest in it and overcome it. But how about that casual player? And I hate labeling players, but everyone knows the term, so I use them for that. So take it with a grain of salt. One is not better than the other as far as I'm concerned. It's life circumstances. Some people have full-time jobs. Well, I have a full-time job. This is part-time for me, but I choose to dedicate my evenings and all the time outside of my full-time duties at work to spend on this and my family, of course. But how do you make a game that appeals to both? This is the crux of the problem. I really think this is going to be a big mountain that Grinding Gear Games is going to face. Is it even possible? I don't know. So I wanted to ponder the question. Grinding Gear Games has made this game very accessible to new players, and therein lies the other problem. The other problem is, because of its insane popularity, we have all spectrums of players coming into this game. Players that have never played an ARPG, players that have never played Path of Exile type game, players that have played Path of Exile, they're OG POE 1 players, players that have played every ARPG known to man, players that have hardly any time, players that have a gazillion amount of time and hours to play and invest into a game. How do you reach all these varied personalities and player bases? How do you make a game that appeals to all of them? Therein lies the question, and I ask you, what do you think? Is POE 2 brutal difficulty a strength? Or could it turn away new players? How should Grinding Gear Games balance this game to reach the masses while keeping the challenges? What makes and gives it its essence at the core of the game is the level of difficulty. How do you do that and appeal to all these player groups? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I've been thinking about this long and hard while I'm going through my playthrough, and I still have not been able to come up with an answer. Anyway, don't forget, I live stream Path of Exile 2 on Twitch. Channel name is SamyCaps. Come hang out and let's tackle all these issues together. Would love to have a talk with you. We have a cool, chill community. And if you enjoyed this video, Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for more Path of Exile 2 content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in Raid class, everyone. Take care. The opinions expressed in this video are mine and solely mine. Healthy debate is always encouraged. Hate is never welcomed. So get over it.